Everyone talks about price. Very few people understand appraised value. I sat down with appraiser Anthony Young to talk about what drives that number and how value is actually determined. If you're looking to buy, sell, or price a property in this market, you won't want to miss this. Hey, it's Beatrix Whipple with the Whipple Group Real Estate. I am so excited today to introduce and interview Anthony Young. I follow him on social. He's got so much incredible content that I agree with, and I have been saying a lot of the same things that I see him saying. So I'm so excited for this. I think we have a lot of alignment, and I think he's such a value in this circle, in this sphere where there's so much information and misinformation, and he just tells it like it is. He's got over 2 decades of experience. He owns Value Audit. It's a Bay Area appraisal and consulting firm. He's also a nationally known speaker and educator, and he works in complex appraisals, high complexity assignments, and has worked with a lot of high value celebrity owned properties. So I'll let him take it from here, do a little more of an intro, and then we'll jump into some questions.
I mean, and you are right. Like we overlap a lot, which is rare to hear a real estate agent kind of say the same things. And those are the things that need to be heard more. So I love that you're doing that. And I wish more real estate agents would take that angle to kind of just be the educator, like inform people more about the different things that move value and the different things that are, there might be household ways of approaching stuff, but it doesn't mean it's right. So I definitely love the way that you approach it. So props to you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. If you don't mind, I'd love to jump into some questions and pick your brain. The first topic is very close to my heart. I talk about this all the time, and it's what we first connected on. It's price per square foot. It is price per square foot is the thorn in my side. And I can tell you this because I've been doing this for 23 years. And when I was a very young, inexperienced agent, I actually shot myself in the foot using price per square foot. It's not linear. And I priced the property using price per square foot, and I overpriced it. And this is how, through experience, I learned. And my question to you is, price per square foot is one of the most overused metrics in real estate. In your opinion, why is it misleading? And are there any instances where we actually can use it?
Well, one, I mean, I think it's easy to just say, oh, well, that house is like for, you're where we're at, it's easy where everything's about $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 a foot, right? So it's like, oh, that house is $50 a foot or 50 square feet bigger. Just multiply it 50 times 1,000. Oh, that's what and it's the wrong way to approach it. As you said, it's not linear. And then the bigger issue, I think what people don't realize is you have economies of scale. And how I typically explain this is, the bigger the house, the smaller the price per square foot. The smaller the house, the higher the price per square foot. So when we sit there and say, oh, well, the neighbor sold, for $900,000, let's say 3 months ago, you're not factoring in the fact that that neighbor was 500 square feet smaller than you. And so kind of like how you said you learned, unfortunately, the hard way. I had a client recently that called us for a consult, and the broker did the same thing that she did, and the agent before her did the same thing, right? They did everything on price per square foot, but then they also continued the price per square foot over to the ADU. So we talk about painful. Let's talk about a $500,000 price reduction conversation with the client. And so, it's again, it's easy. It tells you, it's like we say, it's not, it's a compass, but it's not a calculator, right? And we really have to factor that in. More importantly, when we think about this try to make this as simple as possible. I'm a data nerd, so if I get too high, just
no, I love it.
Bring me down. Let me zoom in. So when we also think about it, when we say price per square foot is $100 a foot in the neighborhood, okay? The actual building size, the house itself, is only a portion of that price per square foot. We think about price per square foot of like a drunk guy cutting a pizza pie, right? You've got maybe 20 to 40% of that $100, $20 to $40 is to the house. And maybe $15 is to the land. And then you have condition and quality and lot usability and location, all of these other things. And so I think if anybody, this is a way that I've taught real estate agents to do it. This is not the exact way. You can overfit sometimes, you can underfit. But if you look at the rule of three, basically 33% goes to the building, 33% goes to the land, 33% goes to condition, quality, and all these other things. Now, again, I'm telling you, this is a quick way. If we're going to be as quick as we do with the price per square foot, let's just say if the price per square foot is $100, okay, if the house next door is 50 square feet bigger, it's $33 times 50. That will get you closer to the mark than just saying price per square, $100 times 50. You'll overshoot every single time. And to the second part of your question, when is it relevant? It is relevant when we control all of the factors. So if we've got a 1,500 square foot house, all of our comps are between 1,400 and 1,600 square feet, price per square foot might be relevant. And all the lot sizes are the same. If you've got a 7,000 square foot lot, all the lot sizes are like 6,000 to 8,000. Basically a track house, that you might see in some of the new construction areas. Okay, then we can do that. And you're getting there, but you still have to factor other things. Like you've got one guy that basically has vinyl throughout the house, and another guy who put travertine. They're not created equal. So I think that's the only time is when you control the data is when you can use price per square foot. And in condos.
I absolutely love this.
Yeah. In condos, the only thing you're dealing with is obviously location, depending on the condo, but from floor. So condos, you can do price per square foot a little bit better, but you still have to make sure it's in the same competitive band, meaning, like I had an agent, wow, where's she at? She was in the East Hills of Santa Rosa where I'm at. And she's like, you should have no problem. The house, 2.3 million all day long. The property we were appraising is 3,000 square feet. All the comps she brought me is around 22,000 to 2,200 square foot. And she was quoting price per square foot. Definitely overshot that one, but I was the bad guy.
This almost exactly mirrors my ethos on price per square foot. And I don't know if you ever saw that video that I made, but I can compare it to when I explain it to people. I go, look, you go to Costco and you get a big size of potato chips. The price per unit is much less than if you go to the gas station and you get a small bag of potato chips. Right. It's the same thing, but the price per unit is a lot smaller. I love this. Thank you for sharing.
And it's a hot topic. Again, it's like anything. It's like rating a burrito by the size of it, right? What if it's all rice? It's like a pizza. It's like, okay, they're all 12 inches or 18 inches. Cool, but what's on it? But again, it's really easy. If you want to start the conversation, like I say, it's a compass. It is not a calculator.
That's a great analogy. Thank you. My next question is, what's the biggest misconception that agents and buyers have about how appraisers really determine value, and what do you wish they would stop saying?
That was one that I recently posted on, which was, and unfortunately I had a situation where I had to correct. I didn't know where the client had gotten the information from. And unfortunately it was from the real estate agent that referred them over to me. But, they're like, oh, I know I'm not selling the house. So, then I'm like, the value is the same, whether you're refinancing, or you're purchasing, it doesn't matter. It's still, we're looking at it as what is the value of the property the day that when we enter the property, the day, the effective date of the appraisal. It's not any different for a purchase. It's not any different for a refi. It's basically, if I take the house to market today, who does it compete with? What are they selling for? Now, some people will say, well, on a purchase, or a refi, they might be more conservative. There's nobody that directs it. Now there is, trying to be politically correct here, I'm filtering. There are levels to it. As you might have, you may agree or disagree. A real estate agent that's willing to do a transaction for 0.5% commission or 1% commission is not necessarily the same as a 3% guy. Doesn't mean the 3% person is better than everybody. It just means that if we're going to look at it, the person that's charging more is probably going to do a little better of a job, right? So it's not necessarily that the bank appraisers are conservative. Sometimes you have some places that really, like, they're finding the bottom of the barrel, meaning the guys that will go out, well, this is a $700 appraisal, they're doing it for $300, giving the AMC, the vendor management company, $100, and then they're expected to have this back in 24 hours. That causes a lot of problems. So that's one of the biggest misconceptions I see, is it's not a different value. It's the same value as of that date. Now, very rare we talk about investment value, but for most cases, 97% of people, it's all the same value.
Okay. I have a question on this. This is just for my personal business. Whenever I have a listing and I meet the appraiser, I always make a point to meet the appraiser, and I bring a packet. I bring short form comps, long form comps, features and upgrades, market conditions, and then if we've had multiple offers, I bring the contract, of course, and then I bring page one of the competing RPAs, because my understanding has always been the value is what people are willing to pay for it amongst all of these other data points. Do you think as an appraiser that showing that, hey, there were 6 other people that were willing to pay this price? I mean, granted, this was in a slightly different market, but there were 6 other people willing to pay this price, and here's the proof of their RPA. Does that help paint the picture?
I love that you do that. So one of the things that I would always catch real estate agents on is every time, especially we're both in both of our markets, it gets really crazy. When it's crazy, it's chaos, right? You got 20 people coming to write offers on something. And like I had one deal where they wanted me to consult on, and I'm like, I've already had 4 other agents call me for consultations on what to write at. And they've got 100 packets out. Just don't even write. So it gets a little crazy. But I love that you bring all the offers, because real estate agents are like, oh, we had 12 offers. I'm like, great, what were they at? Because it doesn't matter if you had 12 offers if the offer you took was 1.2 and everybody else was 900, right? And so you showing where that clumping is, it does help. It is the price that people are willing to pay, but the appraiser still has to prove that we can reproduce that in the market, right? If 6 people do it, and I'm gonna kind of skew off a little bit, but we're gonna bring this right back. That is also by definition the typical buyer versus a particular buyer. People say that the value of a property is the price. That is not true. Price is one thing, value is another. If we were related and the house next door to me became available, like we've always wanted to live next to each other, you're going to pay a premium to live into that, to move next door, more above everybody else. That by definition is a particular buyer. The typical buyer is when you bring it back, 6 people all said, this house is worth 1.3 million or somewhere around there for us. So it does help. I would also, when you're bringing comps to an appraiser, I love that you're bringing, short form and long form. Also make sure that you're writing notes. I always tell my agents and my clients, make sure you write notes on the MLS sheets, because I've sometimes agents will come and meet with me and they'll know everything about the neighborhood. I mean, they know their stuff. They are true neighborhood experts. However, you have to take into consideration, I've got 7 other meetings and a speech and kids to prepare for. By the time I get back to that information, it's probably 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, 4 o'clock in the morning, right? I'm not going to remember anything you said. So I always tell agents, make sure we write notes on those MLS sheets. But I think it's good to bring those RPAs for the appraiser to be able to comment. This is the reason why, the value range is between 1.2 and 1.325. And the reason why we valued the house towards 1.3 is because of XX, and we also had multiple offers and everybody landed around this part, which tells us that was the market accepted, market adopted price. So I love that.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate that feedback. Regarding the notes, I always put inferior location, superior condition, blah, 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 blah on the long form MLS.
And that's something too, if I could add something for agents to do out there, is one thing that I say in speech all the time is we always think that agents are trying to sell us something, right? When they tell, because we have, it's just like we have, and I don't mean that in a wrong way. We just got to think an agent is there to market a house, and we're there to prove it. Now, if the buyer's agent, listing agent, and the buyer, everybody has agreed on a price. Of course, it's like sometimes when you say, oh, that's a bad location. Okay, well, I'm a really big person on evidence. Prove to me why it's a negative location, because sometimes you just have people, oh, don't take those comps over there. That's a bad neighborhood. Okay, well, why? Like that's my biggest push on social media. Anybody can pull comps. I'm pushing for everybody to have clarity behind the why. What are the pieces? We have a million AVMs and different ways to come up with value, but can you tell me the value of the pieces to that? So one easy way I tell real estate agents is go to like realtor.com or tophap.com, TOPHAP. They have pricing heat maps. And I talk about this on social media, where it's like at realtor.com, if you zoom down to the neighborhood area, they have a pricing heat map, and it shows you the lighter the color, the cheaper the area, the darker the color, the higher the price. So when you get meeting with an agent, print that off with an appraiser, print that off in color and take that. So you can say, hey, the comps on that side of the street are inferior, and here's the proof, instead of just telling me, unless you can come up with it, unless you know that, hey, everything on that side of the street sells for 7% less, right? Now that's very specific, and there's data for that. The pricing heat map in color is something that helps. But I love that you write those notes, because we're supposed to have geographic competency. What's that?
I love this idea of the heat map. I mean, I'm like you said, you're a data geek. I'm a huge data geek. So
Yeah.
having these additional tools to help kind of back up
That
what you're saying
yeah, that anybody can
is
access. It's not behind a paywall,
yeah.
right? Anybody can see
Yeah.
it, and it might not be always exact, but that answer is like I tell my team, that answer is the beginning of new questions. Again, it's a compass. A lot of these things, yes, there's so much science that we can bring into this, but sometimes it's just directional. And then we have to add the human insight to say, okay, I've got this 80 yards up. I know it's different, but is it different for the 3,000 square foot houses that is for 50? Like there's more questions, but it gives a direction. Sorry, I'm gonna nerd out for you. I'm trying to keep it
No,
simple.
no, I love this. These are golden nuggets to me. I love it. Okay, awesome. Okay. What are the most common mistakes agents make when trying to influence an appraisal? This kind of ties into the last thing we just talked about. And what actually helps versus what hurts?
Well, you use a very powerful word to influence appraisal. So we're gonna uh, any appraiser that's like ooh, bad word. It's like mold. It's like mold in an inspection report. Ooh. What I like to say is I try to prepare my clients and people that take my courses to control as many aspects of the appraisal, not influence it, but control as many aspects of the appraisal as possible. And that's when it's like comes down to, it's like they say, don't leave it to the judges. No, at the end of the day, it's our job to do our job. But your outcome, your income is more based on the outcome, right? Of us getting it right. Like and so for there, it's like how, like you say, you bring your market conditions report. That is important. And for those who don't know that, to me, there's a form inside of MLS. I have some videos on my social that show how to do it, but it's understand, okay, this is the data that shows that the median price in the neighborhood has jumped 4%. This is also all the properties that directly compete with our subject property in our neighborhood and the zip code that show that it's increasing. This is the city data that shows it's increasing. So don't come here and tell me stable and don't tell me declining. That controls, because now the appraiser has to, if they don't agree, then they have to prove why they don't agree, right?
Mhm.
Other things is like, again, writing notes. That's really important, giving them more information. I will still, we have agents that say, hey, you know what, I don't want to piss off the appraiser, and I joke, but it's there's truth to it. It's like, if you can piss off an appraiser by bringing objectionable data, they need a hug. The 8-year-old them needs a hug. Okay.
I have had so many appraisers refuse. They're like, I don't want it. I don't want the packet.
Like what are you not like, but why not? It's objective information. Okay. And you shouldn't be at a professional level feel like you are influenced because a person provided more information. And so for me, and this, my peers that I respect are in line with this. Guys that I'll stop there. I'll just say peers that I respect are in line with this. Okay. Is I don't care. I tell my clients and my agents, email it to them, text it to them, leave it on the desk. Like, don't tell me you didn't get it. Now, if you decide that you do not review that information, and I told you that comp, that this comp right here, yes, was across the street, but it wouldn't take staging. There was a, the family had left to Missouri, and there was a person that the buyer had to buy that house with being able to kick somebody out that would kept breaking into the windows and doors, or hey, that property they figured out, there were foundation issue in the 25th hour, so they had to drop the price and do all these other things, right? And the appraiser chooses to ignore that information, that truly gives you ammunition later. So I don't understand why appraisers won't take, it's like, it's information. You're not influencing. Now, what you don't do so the other part of your question is, don't give me the story. Now, for me, you're not going to affect me. I've been doing this for way too long, and there's too many people on payroll that depend on me not to screw up, right? So you're not going to influence me in any capacity. But however, there are some people that may feel pressured if you tell them, hey, man, I'm, there should be no issue with price. And I just feel so bad for this, the buyer. Like, he lost his wife 3 years ago. He's been working 3 jobs to be able to save up, to be able to get here. They were outbid by 6 other people. That is a story that we can all feel. But be
Mhm.
careful when you do that to an appraiser. Don't say, hey, there should be no issue with value. Don't say, hey, don't a number, like they have the purchase agreement, right? They know what the number is, but just
Yeah.
save the stories. Don't do that, and don't, even when you disagree. I always tell clients, like, a lot of us have read when we first started in business, How to Win Friends and Influence People. right? And we don't want to piss off the chef while the food is still cooking. The moment it's like if I'm in a business, you and I are in a business a disagreement, and we've just entered business. You're, hey, we're going to start a new media company, and da da da. And the moment we disagree on something, you're like, I'm calling my lawyer. Like, is that how we're going to get this done? Is that what
Yeah.
it's like? So I always say, even when you disagree, don't say you'll never work from my office again, or I'm going to tell you. Don't do any of that, because then you're even just going to hurt your client, because now that appraiser gets to go back and tell the AMC that, or the bank that you influenced them, you pressured them, you yelled at them. Now, so that appraiser is going to take that client's money, and then the AMC is going to have to order another appraisal from another appraiser, right? So just be careful with the stories on there. We all feel the stories. It was, this is my second recession, PTSD. But my first one was when I was still down in Orange County, and we were there. We saw the people that everybody loved, appraisers that pushed value, right? But what the appraisers didn't know at that time is you're pushing value by $20,000, and you're not understanding that the neighborhood was dropping at a rate of $10,000. So in 6 months, this person is completely upside down. They cannot refinance the family home, and they lose the family home. I watch people lose that. We can feel that. We get goosebumps. I remember those moments, but just don't tell the story. Sorry, I kind of went on that guy. We're at that time where people are losing homes again, right? And losing
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a rough time. I remember that.
Yeah. So next question.
That went deep. I love that.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm a person that still, while I've been doing this a quarter century, there's humans behind the number. And so it matters.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's easy to forget that, because there is so much data and paperwork and administrative stuff on our side, and especially your side, but it's all about humans and lives and what's happening in these milestones in their lives.
Yeah.
Okay, back to data and numbers. If you were forced to appraise a home using only 3 data points, what would those be, and why do they matter more than anything else people obsess over?
3 data points. I'm going to go with size, bedroom count, and what's happened in the market. I believe that the most necessary skill that I think a lot of people fundamentally lack is being able to do a market analysis. What I mean by that is to be able to adjust the comparables based on what has happened in the market since they went into escrow. That is the number one reason for over or undervalued property. That is the number one reason for price improvements and price reductions. It's because it's like, hey, you guys, we can feel we know the market's slowing down. Cool. What's the number? Oh, the market shifts 12%. Doesn't mean in 12 months, doesn't mean 1% per month. A comp 2 months ago would have been down negative 2% to adjust it as if it's sold today. A comp 4 months ago, you might need to give it 1.5% to bring it here today. It's not a linear, it's multi-directional, not non-linear, right? And so I've said multiple times over the last few months, I care more about what the market has done. I care more about the time adjustments than I do the comps, because the comps don't mean anything until you treat them as if they sold today. And so that, yeah, because I say square footage and bedroom count, because at the end of the day, we can't perform inside of a house we can't perform in. Right. It's like with, I have 3 kids. I have, my son's football guy, and my daughter's a cheerleader. And every weekend there's a million kids here. And, my better half and I, we want to be able to enjoy the house too, without stepping over kids on Saturday morning, because everybody spends the night here. And so I know I need a certain square footage to perform. We need a certain bedroom count to perform. And then right after that, it's always going to be time adjustments. That is, you give me that. It's such a skill. Like, this creates comps. It's like I could sit there, if you time adjust or price index, however you want to use the word, we can easily say, okay, well, the subject property, like I was doing one recently in Laguna Hills, and they just picked up the property. It was a big consult on a three property package, and they picked up the property last year for, I'll leave that number out, but basically I was able to index from not last year, but 2 years ago, from that point to today, to say, hey, you know what, you've got the property listed, with a 5 in front of it, and there's no way you got above 3 million, because statistically it can't go. So it's to understand time adjustments. You can literally figure out the last time a property sold, what it statistically sell for today, and then adjust the comps. And that's, it all lines up. Sorry, I'm going to nerd out. Like I see the
No. I love this, because can I explain something that I do when I have a seller come to me and there's a bit of a unicorn? So, like I'm in Long Beach, and Long Beach is very diverse in terms of areas and pricing. And every once in a while, I'll come across a unicorn. And if I can't find comps nearby that are similar in size, condition, location, blah, 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 one of the levers that I pull is I'll go, okay, when did this property sell last? And how much has the market changed in either direction since then? And I'll take the median. I'll take the median sales price. Say something sold in 2022, and now they're selling it again, and there's no relevant nearby comps. I'll go, okay, what was the median sales price at that time? And I always use median because I know an outlier can skew the average. So I'll take what's the median sales price then? What's the median sales price now? How much is that delta? I'll apply that to what they sold, what they bought it for in, let's say, 2022. And then I'll think, this is me pointing to my gut, and I'll think, okay, does this line up with what my gut says and the market? And it's kind of this whole conglomeration of gut data, market data, comps, everything.
Yeah, it's data science and human insight will always be there. Now, can I add one little piece for you?
Yep.
Okay. So what we want to do, and I love that we index from when it sold to today, but we first need to say, was that a true, and that's what I had to do in this recent one. Was that a true sell at that time? Okay. So if it's a unicorn at that time, we can also tell, let's just say let's be extreme. Let's say it's the only A-frame in Seal Beach. Okay. So, and it sold in 2022. I want to then comp it in 2022 to see based on the same. This is where you can use price per square foot if you control it, right? Say, hey, I've got a 1,500 square foot A-frame, and there were 5 other cells. My A-frame sold for $150 a foot, and the 5 other cells sold $100 a foot. Okay, that tells me that was the premium they paid for the A-frame, right? Or if we had a situation where they're all the same, did the property sell for higher or lower than the market at that point? So we know that is a credible anchor to come forward. Again, your way is perfectly fine. This is how we get a little closer to that bullseye, because we got to know if we're going to trend from there, was that high, was that low, or if it was, like you used the word unicorn, what was the premium paid or lost because it was
I love this. I love this. Okay.
But I love that you're doing that.
Okay.
So
I love
I see your mind working.
That
you're I see all the gears working right now. But
I love this.
No, yeah. So
thank you for that.
And that's can I give another piece on that always?
Yes.
So to be technical, I like to be technically sound on certain things, right? Textbook is whenever we don't have comps, right? Let's say there's no recent comps that sold in the neighborhood. You always go back in time in the neighborhood. If it didn't happen since 21, you go back and find the comps from 21. Okay. And then after you find those comps from 21 or 22, and you change, like what you used to do, you compare that median price from then to the median price to now. Okay, that's what it would sell for today. Then you go outside 1 mile or 2 mile or in the zip code to find other properties that directly compete. Can I have one more piece? It might get a little too, see, this is where I'm getting 50,000 feet up. Then you go and look at what was the median price of the neighborhood 2 miles out compared to your neighborhood. And now you have all the comps you need.
Oh God, I love this.
Sorry.
Oh, I love this.
Yep. We'll have to play that one back, but pricing is fun. It's there's always something different.
It's like detective work.
Yeah. I tell my team, you're stage 5 clingers. You're the girlfriend that just found out something. You're going to investigate and turn over every rock.
Yeah. I love this. I could talk about this for hours. Okay, my last question, and then if there's anything else you want to share, maybe talk a little bit about your speaking, your courses, anything, I'd love for you to share that. But my last question that I have prepared is, what is one hard, and I think this is really relevant for this market, what is one hard truth about pricing or appraisals that the real estate industry avoids because it's uncomfortable, but homeowners need to hear anyway?
There's like the same question, then 2 different questions. Two different answers came in. What is the hardest part about it? Well, one, no matter how much data we have, we still need human insight. No matter how much, no matter how close to the bullseye I get, the goalpost can move. There's undercurrents, there's things, and that's where I tell clients and agents, make sure you are calling and verifying pending sales. And the first person that says, "Oh, I can't share that information, it's in contract," please read your purchase contract, especially here in California. It's not. I have a national audience, so I'm going to zoom this into California. But everybody read their contracts. You can't share the information now if you choose not to because it's a business decision. Maybe you only have one deal in hand. Completely understand. But understanding where the undercurrent is coming. I mean, there's a more complex way for me to explain it, but I won't take all your time here today. But understanding where the undercurrent, but homeowners should know that it doesn't matter how good you are as an appraiser. It doesn't matter how good you are as a real estate agent. No matter how you can feel the market, see the market, read the market can move. And sometimes it can be from weekend to weekend, that we've had times in both Southern and Northern California where, just this one weekend, the iron struck whatever reason that one, and then the next weekend it was flat, no offers, no activity, and the numbers reflect that. So I think that's the tough one, is homeowners understanding no matter how good the professional is, the goalpost can move. The uncomfortable thing that I've been pushing is I'm wanting to filter, but I'm just going to be extremely raw.
No, I love that.
We are all really good at what we do, and we always need to sharpen our tools. We always need to add more tools. And just because a real estate agent has sold 100 homes doesn't mean my scale has weighed me every day for the last 6 years. It doesn't mean it was always right. The market always tells us the truth. And the uncomfortable piece is that in a shifting market, real estate agents were never taught how to do market analysis, how to understand. And that is that when the market is going up and taking off ridiculously, 3% a month, 2% a month, all of our sins are forgiven. An appraiser doesn't, the only people that still get penalized, whether it's up or down, is an appraiser, right? Because if the market's taken off and the appraiser doesn't do it right, they get blamed, right? The market's dropping and the appraiser does it right, they get blamed. but with the real estate agent side, it's, if the market's taking off, you list at 1 million and it sells for 1.3, everybody's excited, right? But to me, that's also a feedback loop. That the uncomfortable truth is, and real estate agents, what are my words? I just wish locally and nationally, that everybody took pricing and understanding the numbers and measuring the market a little bit more serious, because most of the times we win and nobody's hurt. But in this time when the market in different pockets are shifting and downshifting and all these other things, real people are getting hurt because we're fourth and goal with 10 seconds on the clock, and we are dropping the ball because we don't know how to read an appraisal report other than find the number. We don't know how to read the credibility. We don't know how to time adjust comparables. And there's multiple stories. I could bore you all day long on stories of people who they needed to sell right now. They did not have time to wait the market out. They needed the agent to get it right, and the agent couldn't. I've got a story close to home right now, like my own sister, where, it's like, I'm trying to be a professional. I'm trying not to step on any toes from another professional. But the number that she gave my sister, I'm like, so did you like, that's your neighborhood. You should know the movement. I'm in California, and I can read your market better than you. So that's the uncomfortable truth. I think both real estate appraisers and real estate agents need to work on continuously updating their pricing skills the same way we update our iPhones.
That's powerful. That's powerful. And I also think, to kind of piggyback on that, I think that a lot of real estate agents have a hard time having a difficult conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're honest with a seller and you're able to help determine what the market is actually dictating, you're just saving everyone a lot of grief and a lot of time. And yeah. I think having that honesty, especially in a market like this, is only going to serve your clients better.
And it sucks. And that's the part about, for me, being able to share an office with my better half and listening to the conversation that she has. And, when I started pushing into trying to, I've taught real estate appraisers for 17 years, but it's like the last 5 years I really pushed into the agents, because there's more agents. And if we bridge the gap of understanding pricing there, first of all, that helps the conversation between us. Right. But it also will help explain to the seller, because but overhearing her and overhearing sellers being like, well, if you're going to list my house at 650, I'll find somebody else that does. Okay, we're going to have those people, right, that don't want to listen. However, I like the fact more when somebody can walk in the market conditions, you bring in with the market conditions report addendum that in the MLS and that nationally has, and just say, hey, or even just the median price in the neighborhood is 1 million right now. I know that Johnny up the street sold for 1.4 million, but that was 18 months ago. And the median price then was 1.4. It has shifted. Would you rather me lie to you to get the deal than have you hurt and losing money later? Or would you rather me be upfront right now? And it is a difficult part, because it's like, the only people right now in the market that I see when I'm consulting homeowners, I'm helping agents, talk to the homeowner, is the only people that are emotional are the sellers right now, because the buyers are not.
Yeah.
They're not. The buyers are extremely logical. They've got more inventory to look than they've had since 2016, 2019, right? Both those years were big years. So every time they go up that street, there's another house up for sale. There's another house up for sale. There's no rush. So like, pricing high and adjusting down is the wrong thing. And it's hard. It's hard. My kids grew up here. We picked it's like, even I had a property that I renovated. I understand how hard it is. Like, we renovated the entire, gutted everything. And my kids literally helped me pick out, here's the backsplash for here. Here's the TV wall. Here's the flooring. Here's the back. Yes. But when I sold it, because I moved to a different property that was bigger for the kids, the market didn't care that my kids picked out that tile. I knew it was, I won't say the number, but I get it. But it's better to lose a client than to have them lose their home
100%.
because they sat on the market for 2 months too long and then went into short sale and then went into foreclosure. It's better to lose one than to hurt more, in my opinion.
100%. Absolutely. Thank you for that. One thing I keep noticing, and I love this, because I feel the same thing, even though most of this is talking about data and numbers. Mm-hmm. Underneath it all, it always comes back to the human component, because that's who we're helping. That's who we're serving. Mm-hmm. And I love how deep you go and how you tie it all in together. I really appreciate that. If you want to share anything about your education, your courses, any speaking engagements you have, I'd love for you to share that, or anything else you want to share.
Well, we have a lot going on this year. It's already, I actually haven't even, that's what I was supposed to do this weekend was line everything up. I'm going to be in New York for Inman next month. And then we go to Nashville and Dallas. I don't know, I'm everywhere, but the bigger part is I just want everybody just tune in to my Instagram. There's so much stuff. I just want to bridge the gap. I want to make you, the real estate agents that are out there, I want you guys to have a different level of conversation with your buyers and sellers. You're never going to jump on my Instagram and see me taking, gym selfies in the bathroom. You're not going to see me do any TikTok dances. My number one goal is always making someone feel smarter when they leave, if I can. Right. And then you'll see a bunch of my kids and stuff too. But that's just the biggest set. It's a, yes, we have the courses that are out when anybody is ready to kind of just change the level, of how they price. You guys have priced hundreds of homes. This helps you get to the bullseye closer, faster, and with more clarity to where you communicate price a little bit more. But that's all on my website. But if anything, just going on the Instagram, tuning in, giving me feedback, letting me know what you want me to talk about. Because with the years that I have left in the industry, my goal is to leave it all on the table and just make sure that I'm putting my brain in everything that I put together over the last 25 years and all the different strategies and ways that we look at stuff while I'm trying to simplify it for the real estate agent. I just want you guys to have those tools, because it's crazy to me to think that pricing is one of the key things to what you guys do, and you guys were never taught it. So
yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. If you can share your Instagram handle, I'll also put it in the show notes, your Instagram handle, your website. Can you share that real quick?
Yeah. Instagram is Anthony_Young_appraiser. The website is Valued Audit with a D, VALUED, valuedaudit.com. And if you forget any one of those, you can just Google Anthony Young Appraiser and everything will come up, and all the other social medias and stuff. But yeah, it's that's where it is. So
awesome. Thank you again so much for your time. This was fun for me. I feel like I could keep you here for hours talking about all this. Thank you for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And I'll have everything in the show notes, and give him a follow. He's a wealth of information, even for non-real estate agents. But if you're a real estate agent, give him a follow. I've gotten so much value from following him.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
I'm going to pause it or end the recording. I'll keep you on for just a second. Let me end this.